What they're really saying is, and they're creating threats like the Chinese-U.S. trade war. Why are we doing that? We had the best relationship ever between China and the U.S. We were both benefiting in a huge way. Silicon Valley was accelerating, all of the U.S. was accelerating, China was accelerating, everything was going incredibly well. Why create a trade war unless you're trying to keep tribalism?
If you could just give the audience a little bit of context, and I think just to understand the social impact that you believe Bitcoin can have from a government perspective, from an economic perspective, how big do you see the potential of Bitcoin right now?
So this is really one of the most transformative technologies that has ever hit the world. I was there for the internet boom where they transformed media and communications, information, gaming, entertainment, a lot of interesting industries. They're all in sort of the 10 to $100 billion range. But Bitcoin, when combined with the blockchain, smart contracts, and artificial intelligence, have the potential to completely transform the industry. The global industries that are in the trillions of dollars. We're looking, finance is going through a major transformation now, and naturally, if you're a bank, you're freaking out because you've got you've been taking 2.5% to 4% every time anybody swipes a credit card, and all of a sudden you've got a currency here in Bitcoin that is frictionless. And so if you're a bank, you're just going, whoa, this is crazy. But it's not just, and banking is in the multi-trillions of dollars as an industry. But there's also the ability now for you entrepreneurs out there to transform insurance and real estate and government itself and healthcare. All of these industries are ripe for the picking, and they are in the trillions of dollars. This is really exciting for entrepreneurs and for venture capitalists because this is the time where there's the most turmoil. Naturally, if you're a government and you've been tribal and you've been a part of something where you have this border that sits around you and you kind of control everything there, and somebody creates a currency, communications, and a way of doing business that is global, you're losing your clout. And that's why you're seeing a lot of these governments sort of trying to react. They're sort of, some are overreacting. They're saying, no, you can't use this because. What they're really saying is, and they're creating threats like the Chinese-U.S. trade war. Why are we doing that? We had the best relationship ever between China and the U.S. We were both benefiting in a huge way. Silicon Valley was accelerating, all of the U.S. was accelerating, China was accelerating, everything was going incredibly well. Why create a trade war unless you're trying to keep tribalism? The rest of us are all a part of this new world that's opening up, and now I've got Bitcoin. If I'm in Syria and I have a bunch of Syrian currency, and the military comes in and pushes me out of Syria, well, nobody's going to take Syrian currency in wherever, Greece, and so I end up being a refugee in Greece. Well, if I had Bitcoin, I could just take down my Bitcoin and go. This is so clear to me that we all us humans are now we can move from place to place. We can use the same currency that we all recognize around the world. We have a new way of operating, but that is a big threat to the existing power structure. And so you're going to see countries sort of, maneuvering to try to put this thing, quell it, to push it down. But it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the drum beat's just getting louder and louder and louder. I think we are headed toward one very peaceful and wonderful and loving world, but in the meantime, the tribalists are going to try to create friction and trouble and whatever they can to justify their existence as a tribal power, as a tribal government. Well, the good news is that while one country says Bitcoin's illegal, another country says Bitcoin's a national currency. And so you're seeing this interesting, in effect, competition for you as a citizen of the world. These governments are all having to compete for us. And this is so exciting. It is really amazing. And it's the biggest industries in the world that are going to be transformed. What is government? Government is like an insurance policy. It makes you feel safe. But what is insurance? Well, now you could create an insurance company with an actuary, a series of smart contracts with various clients around the world, and artificial intelligence system of evaluating claims. I mean, this can all be done, with 3 computers and a girl in her lab. This is really an exciting opportunity, and so if you can create an insurance company that easily, that means that different pieces of government are going to slowly but surely be less and less relevant. Think about healthcare insurance or workman's comp insurance or pensions or social security. They're all insurance programs. Why do we need these to be tribal? We can do them across border. And the Estonian government was really first there because they started to create Estonian virtual residents across border. Now they're like 200,000 of them. That's like a fifth of the Estonian population. This could end up being, and now Malaysia has one. They have a virtual residency program, and Kazakhstan was working on a virtual citizenship program. So all of them are starting to compete for you, and they're realizing that a big part of governance now is competitive and virtual. It doesn't have to be tied to a landmass. So this is really, you asked the right question, you got me going.
So now I want to turn to the audience because I'm sure they've got some questions for Mr. Tim Draper. We've got one hand up here. So what is your question? If you shout it out, and then I will microphone it to Tim.
Okay, so I met Tim in Argentina while he was driving an educational Bitcoin truck, and he told us that he's playing Bitcoin to Macri, president, but now we have a new one. Could he please explain to my new president Bitcoin? Because Macri missed the point.
So we have a gentleman here that met you in Argentina, and he said you explained to the Argentinian president the benefits of Bitcoin. Now there's a new president. Are you going to do the same?
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to Argentina every time they have a new election, but we did have a fun bet, and he didn't completely agree to it, so I can't say that he reneged on his bet. And the bet was, I had been there 2 years before, and I had met with, this was Macri, and I said, I told him all about Bitcoin 2 years before, and then I came back and I said, okay, well, since I told you all about Bitcoin, Bitcoin had gone from 10,000, actually that day, the day I met him, down to 4,000. And I said, and he goes, And I said, yeah, and during that same period of time, the Argentinian peso has gone from 7.5 cents to 2.5 cents. And he goes, yeah. And then I said, okay, well, so we'll make a bet. If the Argentinian peso does better than Bitcoin in the next year, then I'll double my investment into Argentina. And then he said, oh, okay, great. And then I said, yeah, but if Bitcoin does better than the Argentinian peso, you have to make Bitcoin a national currency. And he goes, and he starts laughing a little, and then I said, the way Japan did. And all of a sudden he went, what? And he got his minister to go call the Japanese minister. Nothing came of it. In fact, it went completely the other way, where the Argentina declared that they would not accept dollars. And they said, we're just getting rid of everything but this peso. Well, that just puts Argentina into a downward spiral that will be there for as long as they keep this up, because the Argentinian peso has dropped 30% a year forever. And people lose their fortunes every couple of years in Argentina. I think they really need to shape up, but they're at the mercy a little bit of a couple of banks or the IMF, because they owe so much money in dollars, and they kind of have to keep their currency going. But I mean, what they don't understand is if they made Bitcoin a national currency and then just put all their infrastructure spending into 5G, they could make that the center of all sorts of entrepreneurial activity, and they could grow right out of all their debt. But I don't think they see it that way, and it's really a shame. And I look forward to going down and potentially meeting the new president and hopefully putting some sense into it.
And Mr. Draper, do we have time for one more question with you? Do we have anyone?
Sure.
Awesome. Do we have anyone else in the? Yep.
What are his thoughts on the implications of Libra coming out versus Bitcoin?
And what are your thoughts on the implications of Libra coming out versus Bitcoin?
I think anytime a government puts that much of an effort into trying to destroy and put down a currency like that, you know it's a huge winner. I think that Libra has great potential. I mean, 2 billion people automatically on board, and they might use this as a currency. I think this is one of those times where I think that the Facebook team, and I did mention this to Cheryl, the Facebook team might think in terms of playing a little harder ball with the U.S. government and saying, hey, guys, we might just move to Europe. We might move to another place if you don't let us do this. I think, I thought that Libra was going to be a major factor in the world if they're stalled sitting talking to government forever and ever and ever, then the world will pass them by. I thought Libra might be one of the top 5. I sort of think the top 5 are going to end up being Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tezos, because it's just so cool. And I thought Libra was going to be one of those, and then did I say Ethereum? Yeah. I think we have it's going to be wide open, and we do want multiple currencies out there because we want competition. We want competition in currencies. We want competition in governments. We want competition with government services. We want competition in finance and in healthcare and all the different fields. And because when there is competition, then all the businesses are accountable, all the governments are accountable, all these currencies will be accountable to you. You're going to choose the one that works the best for you. Anyway, I think it's sad to look at, Mark Zuckerberg. My God, he's the hero. He's one of the biggest heroes we've got. He has to face all of these guys, these people just ripping him apart and making him feel awful. We should be bowing to him. He's extraordinary. He's done amazing things. We need more heroes like Mark. And I wish that the world would recognize that the value that these entrepreneurs create is so extraordinary for all of us. And we really should, kind of make them feel great about what they've done. Think about what he's done. My gosh, he's touched 2 billion people. He's an amazing guy. And now it's like he's on trial going to prison because he's come up with a really cool new currency. And I think that, and I have a ton of Bitcoin, so I'm being completely honest with you on this. I don't have any Libra. But I do feel like it's just not right. And I think our world has to open up, has to recognize value in these people who have created incredible value for us. And we should allow them to have extraordinary lives, and we should just thank them every time we see them. So, great. Well, thank you for having me. Unless you have time for one. I have time for one more question, if you do.
We do have one more question just over here. Let me go and fantastic. So if you'd like to ask your question.
Hello. Yes, I would like to know Tim's thoughts about the Bitcoin payment processors, and especially the Lightning Network.
Yeah, I heard the question. I think Bitcoin payment processes are really going to open the floodgates. Women actually buy 80% of the product on retail, and the women only have 1 out of every 15 Bitcoin wallets is a woman's. So the women haven't really jumped right in. And I believe that when whether it's the Lightning Network or OpenNode, allowing Bitcoin to be used easily off-chain and for various retail purposes, that's going to, and so that the transactions can happen much, much faster. I think that that's going to open up this enormous system where, and this is actually why I predicted Bitcoin, and I continue to believe Bitcoin is going to hit 250,000 by 2022 or 2023. It's because of this. It's because of Lightning Network and OpenNode and maybe others that are allowing us to spend Bitcoin very freely and quickly, so that it's not just stored for a value, but it can be used for micropayments, it can be used for retail, it can be used all over, and then, then it's going to be, I believe long term, it'll be 20% of the currency of the world. And that could mean that it is in the millions of the price of Bitcoin. So, I think Lightning Network and OpenNode are doing important work, and usually it takes about 2 years from when they start work to when we get everything, and then another year or so before it starts to spread. But women communicate much faster than men, and I think once they are spending and then they are using Bitcoin and have their wallets, it's going to spread around the world, and then it's going to be, then we're all going to just, follow it in, we'll follow the women in this case. I think that's going to be an exciting time. I think we're about to see it, and it's going to open up so many new opportunities around the world for you entrepreneurs. And I hope you'll all come to me at tim@draper.vc when you want to start a business.
Tim Draper, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a round of applause.
Thank you so much for putting this conference on. I love that Malta is such a dynamic leader when it comes to Bitcoin and blockchain and smart contracts and all of that. And I think it's so needed, and it's so nice to have a country that's so open. So way to go, Malta. And thank you Good talking with you all.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. That was Tim Draper.